All right, hello. Hi.
How are you?
I'm not bad. How about you?
Really
How are you,
excited.
Deliveroo?
Very excited to be here.
Okay.
We all just finished this shift.
Yeah.
It's actually my birthday today as well.
What?
So I'm really excited to be
Okay,
here.
you totally did not tell me that. I did not
well,
know
it's
that.
Meant to be a surprise, so
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
To the founder of Deliveroo, yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
So I think we're done here, right?
Yeah.
There's
All
not
right,
much else
thanks
to
very
talk
much.
about.
Yeah.
Drop the mic.
Anyway, yes. Well, happy birthday. That's
Thanks.
you've been keeping that one quiet.
Just realized it a few minutes ago. No, I mean, yeah, I have been.
That's how busy you are at Deliveroo.
Yeah, we've been very busy.
You have indeed. I see you guys everywhere, in my neighborhood, at least in the south of London. I'm behind a bus, and I see Deliveroo advertised on the bus. On the streets. You're just all over the place. Is it like that all over town, or is it just? Have you been, targeting me specifically?
No, I think London's where we started, and we started with 2 restaurants in Chelsea, with 2 drivers. I was the first driver. And, today we're at a point where it does seem rather ubiquitous in London.
Yeah.
We're in a lot of different neighborhoods, but this is only the start.
Yeah.
We believe that Deliveroo is something that, people, it's not just about using us twice a month, but we want to make that, every single day. And this is just
Is
the
anyone
beginning.
using you guys every single day at this point?
Well, I do. I don't know if I count.
You're
Do I
the
count?
owner of Deliveroo,
Yeah.
but you
yeah.
are the founder.
No, there are
and
people that
CEO?
use us multiple times a day.
Yeah.
And that's
Are
great
they
to see.
private people or businesses?
Private people as well as businesses.
Yeah.
Because it's just your best restaurants in your local neighborhood to your house in half an hour.
Yeah.
And that's a proposition that doesn't just work in London, but has worked in the 52 other cities we're currently in.
Yeah. I mean, what do you see yourselves replacing? Do you see yourself replacing going out to eat or going to pick up takeaway from a restaurant or cooking at home or going to Marks and Spencer's? Like, what do you see Deliveroo disrupting?
So I don't think we're a substitute for eating at the restaurant. I think you go to a restaurant for the ambiance, for the service, the decor. But when I think about the competition, it's exceedingly broad, right? It's what happens when it's raining and you're hungry at home, for instance, right? Your options are Deliveroo, pizza place, pure online marketplace, Tesco ready-made meal, cooking yourself, right? So I think we are trying to displace a lot of those things. But in-house restaurant dining is a bit different, I think.
Right. You guys are like focusing on high-end restaurants that may not already have a delivery option, but the kind of bigger market is that there are a ton of options for getting takeaway food delivered to you right now. There's the Just Eats and Hungry House and Delivery Hero, depending on where you are, you've got different names for it. Now, Postmates has fired a shot across the bows, to go after your market a little bit. Let me put this question, set it to you, to Fred, as an investor. How are you guys differentiating between Deliveroo versus the hundreds and thousands of others that are doing this sort of thing? What makes one more interesting than another?
Well, so the first question is, do you really think it's the same experience? Because well before I invested, I tried the marketplaces, and it's a long list of usually Indian, Chinese, with own drivers, and I don't know when the food arrives, and the food quality is just, I never found it very appealing. Now, having said that, even if you let the marketplaces do what they do, and they do it really well, what's fascinated me about the food business is it's way bigger than anybody realized. So from the outside, you think all these companies are competing. Actually, once you're inside, you're realizing that there are many, many segments in this market, and they're all very big. So I think food is going to be the largest segment in e-commerce within a few years. When people from outside the industry say, oh my God, I'm going to puke if I see another food tech company getting funded, which is a quote from one of our investors, I think I respect that, but actually I think they say that because they're not inside the market. So Deliveroo is primarily a market expansion play. So we have very little overlap with Just Eat, both in terms of restaurant, it's almost zero, I think there's 1 or 2, and in terms of customer base. So most people have never used the delivery service before except for pizza. But also, we're really going after eating. And our primary competitor is probably Tesco's. And what we're seeing is the behavior is the Sunday lunch at home when you're watching the game. And sometimes some weird stuff, like the young guy who's
You're
dating.
saying you're replacing the Sunday lunch?
Well, people are watching, whatever, Man U playing.
Yeah.
A little nod to Sir Alex Ferguson. And instead of cooking and spending hours cooking, they might order Deliveroo for the 8 people that are there watching the game. And that's becoming part of their normal behavior, which is why we're seeing people, come twice to 4 times a month and kind of use our services. And before, they didn't used to do anything. They would just cook at home. So what you're going after is Walmart if you're in the US or Tesco's if you're in the UK, and it's really just feeding. And I think what it took me even a while to realize is how, it's just enormous. And from the outside, you think these segments are all overlapping, but they're not really once you're inside the company and inside the mind of the consumer.
Yeah, do you think that, but still there are a lot of these companies out there, and there is some consolidation happening. Some of these larger groups are getting bigger. They're sort of, Delivery Hero has been buying up a ton of operations in different regions, for example. How do you think that's going to affect your business? Do you think that you have what it takes to be the acquirer and to become the consolidator, or do you think eventually Postmates will need to buy you guys?
Well,
as one example.
As one example, I certainly view us, as the market leader, and I view us as, potential acquirer of other businesses. I have no question.
Are you buying anyone now? Have you bought anyone yet?
We haven't bought anyone.
You going to buy someone?
We haven't seen anything that interesting, to be honest.
You have a lot of money now, don't you?
It depends relative to who. We have some cash, yes. But, we haven't seen...
200 million, right?
We've raised $200 million.
$200 million.
In the last 20 months or so, with the last 2 rounds in the last 4 months.
How much of it is in the bank now?
A lot of it. A lot of it.
Okay. So you may become a buyer.
We haven't seen anything that interesting. I think that it's still really early days right now in this industry. And, I think we need to see a bit more of what's going to happen in some other countries and some other markets and some other verticals for us to be really excited about anything. Right now, we're just focused on being the best food delivery company in the world. We're focused on expanding to new markets and enhancing our leadership position in existing markets.
But Ingrid, you mentioned competition. And just to harp on the point for a second, we're not in the business of Just Eat. Just Eat is a marketplace. You go find a restaurant that you like. They do their own delivery. We're a convenience service. We're sort of a next generation marketplace where you go to local restaurants that you know and like, and we'll get the food to you in another 30 minutes. So I do think the value propositions are quite different. And again, we're not seeing that much overlap. So the question is, who's building the biggest food delivery company the fastest that can work on a global basis? So what we know from guys like Just Eat is that they work brilliantly well in the UK and London. They worked well in Denmark. And then you get into all these local markets where it's been really tough to sort of beat each other out. In the case of Deliveroo so far, so we've won the UK by a very wide margin. And then we've been surprised that when we launched in Paris, second, possibly third entrant, but with the kind of playbook that we developed, we've now become number 1, and we're seeing that pretty much every market that we launch in is faster than the previous one. Okay,
so why do you think that's the case? What are you doing that's different?
We created an entirely new market. If you think about the pure online marketplaces, what they were, it was a substitute for a phone call to a restaurant that you could already have gotten delivery from, right? What we're doing is we're allowing customers to access the best restaurants in their neighborhood and get that food in half an hour. So it is a very different proposition that didn't exist before.
But do you think you're bringing something? Why were those, first of all, why isn't Just Eat going after the same business you are? And how do you know they won't?
Well, the question is how, so think for 1 second about what we offer, which is, fully controlled logistics platform, fully controlled quality of service, both on the food and the delivery time, and with a thumb app, which basically says, I'm going to Rosso Pomodoro in Hampstead, boom, 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 I'm selecting the 4 things that I know and like, click, click, delivered, and then I can stalk my driver on the app and know exactly when the food is coming with a delivery time that's typically 30 minutes or less, and with a very, very high SLA, like our service level agreement with the user is very high. So now you Just Eat, and your marketplace is fairly low end. No offense, but it's true. It's more price driven than quality driven. And you don't own and operate the drivers. So how do you move the brand to serve upmarket restaurants who do not want to work with you? And then how you deal with our expertise is managing crowds of people who run around on bikes at night in London and, act and work as a community of drivers to deliver food to people, and how they present themselves and they take off their helmet and they say hi and they're part of the service experience is all part of what makes us unique. So everything from the restaurant relationship to how your food is actually being handed to you piping hot is all part of it.
Okay. I think that's pretty interesting, and it's very tight, the way you've described it. How are you going to be able to control that as you get bigger, though? Have you had growing pains? And how is it going to work, especially, Deliveroo starts in London, very kind of focused, what you do, who you do it for. Then you're starting to expand to more markets. Now you're going into Asia and the Middle East. Maybe at some point you might even try the US. How are you going to keep the focus of what you're doing? Not dilute it too much.
It's a great question. The way we look at it is this. Our proposition, again, the core is best local restaurants in about 30 minutes, right? And if we're governed by that philosophy, we think that is something that everyone in the world wants. Now, there's local tweaks, right? For example, in Dubai, a lot of the restaurant supply is in malls. So, the logistics works a bit differently. Hong Kong is very hilly, right? Singapore is very wide streets, and if you make a wrong turn, you're kind of out of luck, right? And so exactly. So there's very local tweaks that we work on, both on the marketing side and the operational side.
Yeah.
But those two core fundamentals, which is why we started the company, because we wanted to get great restaurants and we wanted the food quickly. And so long as everyone's obsessed with getting those two things right, then the rest kind of falls into place.
And what's fascinating is we were convinced some cities weren't going to work.
Why?
So Paris, foodies, people like to eat out, people like to cook. Well, Paris is by far one of our best cities because it's actually really dense, so people on push bikes can get around easily. And the food supply is great. And so it turns out that Paris has been growing really fast and well beyond our expectations. Now we launched Singapore thinking, oh my God, it's our first Asian market, it's only been a few weeks, and again, it's our fastest growing company. So we're finding a sort of universality in behavior. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to do one thing really, really well and repeat. And so the way you take away scalability pain is that we don't speculate, we launch in tight test markets. When it works, we lean into it and we replicate. So it's a bit like a BlaBlaCar in the case of our French company, which is what works well in one market, tested in a local city or a few cities, and then scale. And so far, we've seen that it turns out humans like to eat, humans like restaurant experiences, and humans are wowed when it's under 30 minutes. And it seems to be quite universal.
Okay, so taking all of that, I know that you're saying humans like this, but actually Deliveroo is sort of aimed at it's kind of the higher end of the market. You're going after nicer restaurants and presumably a demographic of people who are wanting to eat from Rosso Pomodoro and Hampstead, or name another kind of upper type. If they're not going to KFC. So my question for you is, do you think that you can take this, export it to other demographics, other tiers? Do you want to? Are we going to see Deliveroo delivering McDonald's at any point? Do you have any demand for that?
So I think there's a misconception about how, that we're just targeting people in an upmarket demographic. What we look for in any market is population density, affluence, and restaurant supply. And although today, I would say the majority of our customers are quote unquote upmarket, our biggest restaurant partners are the domestic chains in the UK, the likes of Wagamama, right, GBK, right? And we charge the same price as we do in the restaurant plus £2.50. And I think that's a proposition that many people can undertake. Now, if you were to ask me, what are we going to do in the future? I don't precisely know. All I know is this. I want to make this company something that goes from something you use once a week, twice a week, to every single day. And I think part of that's going to involve lowering prices and making it just something that you don't even think twice about using.
Right.
And that's what I'm obsessed with over the long term.
Right. Another way you could do it is to widen the kind of things you're delivering. So I know you guys are now doing beer. Is that right?
Yes, we have a on-demand beer delivery service in partnership with InBev Anheuser.
Is it called Deliveroo?
Nice one. We should take that on.
Thank you very much.
We got a
Thank
new head of
you.
marketing. That's awesome.
I got a
was that-
slow clap, everyone. Yes.
So that is a trial we're running
Yeah.
where you can get beer in about 10 minutes
Right.
from the app.
It's a trial, though. But are you guys going to do more things? Like, I was looking at, like grofers in India. They do drugs, drugs on demand. Not recreational ones, but actual, like from the pharmacy type things. But
Got it.
Yeah. Don't get excited. Don't run off to India.
My birthday. So
Party.
who knows what could happen?
That's for later, yeah.
He's having his holiday party tonight too for Deliveroo.
I think, look, in general, we want to do things for our customers really well, right? The logistics of food are fairly special.
Yeah.
We have to predict 2 or 3 minutes in advance when a meal is ready so that we can send the driver to make sure the food is piping hot.
I don't dispute that.
And so I think our view right now at least is, the customer experience is absolutely paramount. And we're not going to do anything that degrades that. There's the other issue, which is how much you can do inside an app, which is, you're fundamentally not going to buy regulated meds inside the same mobile environment as you're going to order food
No, but if you've got a prescription
from.
that needs to be filled, for example, and then you can get it delivered,
So the question you're asking is, are we going to morph at some point into a generic delivery play?
Yeah, a Postmates or
So
whatever.
I think for me, I think this is the biggest market in the world, food. And I think it's
Food,
something
you
that,
mean?
one of the top 3, right? And I
Yeah.
think it's something that it can be used every single day, if you get the price at the right point.
Right.
And so to kind of veer off and to look at some other verticals, I think is potentially interesting. But if you get this one right, and it's still early stage today, I think the outcome could be enormous.
It's a nice theoretical debate.
Yeah.
The reality is we're growing so fast, we have so many drivers being hired and they don't churn, etc., that this is, you can think of it strategically like that. Right now, our objective is to be the biggest in the world at a high quality food delivery. And over time, we may expand the offering inside food. I don't think we're thinking about other verticals right now because we don't need to, and we want to make sure that our restaurant partners are happy, our drivers are happy, and our customers are happy, and it's taking 25 hours a day to do that well.
Are you guys now filling up? Are your drivers busy? I mean, do you have it now that you're like at capacity in terms of filling up their time? Because I know that one of the issues with a lot of logistics businesses is maximum efficiency, so that you're not bringing a lot of waste. That warehouse is completely full. Those delivery people are like packed in, that they've got all those things kind of done at the right order. And, where are you now at that point? Are you like at overcapacity and that's why you needed some more funding to build out your network of drivers more? Or are you at the point where you've got it at such a well-oiled point, your logistics network, that
It's pretty well oiled in certain geographic areas. Now, obviously, when you enter a new geography, there's a lot of different things to figure out. But that's what our data scientists and engineers obsess over every day.
Right.
How can we increase driver utilization? How do we increase driver throughput? And that's not just a tech exercise. That's also training and management as well.
Okay.
It's a microeconomics problem, so it works at the city level. So the cities that are mature work extremely well, and the cities that are new, we overinvest in the drivers for a period of time, and then they flip into the black, right?
Yeah, got it. Okay, we need to wrap up, but I just want to ask one more question on this theme, which is, I know that you guys are now very focused on big cities, but maybe as you grow, you might go into tier 2s. Where are you on drone delivery?
So
nice one.
I think
Drones.
honestly, it's not something I've thought about a lot of, but I do think it could work in suburban areas, definitely.
Are you guys investing in? Are you looking at it then?
We haven't done any serious work on it. You know, I've met a few people, haven't done any
Okay.
serious work. I think in urban areas, I think it still will be tough for some time.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine, would you stick your hand out the window and kind of, you know, get the package? Like, you know, there's a
I
lot of
know.
complications.
Yeah, a lot of people getting hit on the head with
Yeah.
with your next door neighbors. Drone delivery is you take your rubbish bins in from the corner. But yeah, no, I agree. But so you are looking at it.
It's, you know,
Interesting.
had a few meetings. It's not a serious thing at this point. But I mean, honestly, long term, in less densely populated areas, which we couldn't service today,
Right.
it could be an interesting option.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Fred.
you. Thank you, Ingrid.
Thanks, Fred. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks a lot.